Please, just $10, the little boy begged to shine the CEO's shoes, when he said it was to save Mom. It was a cold, gray December morning in downtown Chicago. Businessmen in tailored suits hurried past the rows of street vendors and buskers, their minds racing with numbers, meetings, and deadlines. Among the crowd, a little boy, no older than 8, stood on the corner of Monroe Street, clutching a worn-out shoe brush and an old tin of polish. His jacket was too thin for the weather, his hands were red from the cold, and his eyes were far too tired for a child his age. Please, sir, just $10. I can shine your shoes, he called out, his voice cracking with desperation. People passed him by like he was invisible. Some looked away out of guilt, others didn't notice at all. But the boy stood firm, shifting from one foot to the other, biting his lip to keep from crying. He wasn't begging for candy. He wasn't running a scam. He had a purpose, one he clung to with all his heart. Inside the towering glass building behind him, CEO Thomas Granger sat behind a mahogany desk that overlooked the skyline. At 52, he had everything: money, power, prestige. But that morning, he couldn't focus. Something about the view below had caught his eye. A boy. Standing in the cold. Trying to shine shoes. Intrigued, and admittedly skeptical, Thomas grabbed his coat and descended the building's pristine lobby. Moments later, he was standing in front of the boy. "You want to shine my shoes?" Thomas asked, raising an eyebrow. The boy nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir. Just $10. Please. I promise I'll do a good job." Thomas looked down at his polished Italian loafers. "They're already clean. I'll make them shine better," the boy said, kneeling without waiting for permission. He opened the tin and got to work, carefully brushing, polishing, and buffing with the focus of someone doing much more than a job. "You always out here?" Thomas asked, watching. "Only when I have to," the boy said. "My name's Daniel. You should be in school." Daniel hesitated. "I know, but my mom's sick. Real sick. The medicine costs a lot. She can't work anymore." There was a pause. Thomas frowned. "Don't you have any family to help?" Daniel shook his head. "It's just me and her now. My dad, he left a long time ago. I'm all she's got." There was something in the boy's voice, a quiet strength, a fierce love, that tugged at Thomas in a place he hadn't felt in years. When the boy was done, he sat back on his heels, looking up hopefully. Thomas handed him a crisp $10 bill. "Thanks, sir," Daniel said, clutching it like it was gold. But Thomas wasn't done. "Where do you live?" Daniel hesitated, unsure if he should say. But something about the man's eyes seemed kind, even if his suit looked expensive. "A couple blocks down, near the shelter. We got a small room in an old building. It's not much, but it's warm." Thomas nodded. "Show me." Daniel's eyes widened. "Really? Really?" They walked together through the city streets, drawing strange looks, a powerful CEO walking beside a ragged boy. Thomas didn't care. He asked Daniel questions, and the boy answered with surprising maturity. How he helped his mom with groceries, how he'd learned to polish shoes from YouTube videos, how he dreamed of becoming a doctor so no kid would ever have to watch their mom suffer. When they reached the building, Thomas followed him up the creaky stairs to a small, one-room apartment. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of medicine and old blankets. A frail woman lay on a mattress, coughing softly. Her skin was pale, and her eyes fluttered open when she saw her son. "Mom," Daniel whispered, kneeling beside her. "I got $10. You can get another bottle today." The woman managed a weak smile. "You're my hero, baby." Thomas stood quietly in the doorway, overcome with a feeling he couldn't quite name. The room was poor, but filled with love. The kind of love money couldn't buy. He stepped forward. "Ma'am. I'm Thomas Granger. I met your son outside." She looked at him, confused. "Are you his teacher?" "No. Just someone who should have stopped sooner." He turned to Daniel. "Do you have your mom's prescriptions?" Daniel nodded and pulled out a crumpled note with scribbled names of medications. Thomas took it, looked it over, and pulled out his phone. That evening, Thomas returned with more than just medicine. He brought a team of doctors from a private clinic he funded. He had a new mattress delivered, along with food, warm clothes, and books for Daniel. A week later, he arranged for Daniel's mother to be moved to a hospital for proper treatment. The boy never asked for more than $10. But his honesty, determination, and love had touched something deep in a man who had nearly forgotten what real struggle looked like. Months passed. Daniel's mom recovered slowly, her strength returning bit by bit. Thomas visited often. Not as a benefactor, but as a friend. He enrolled Daniel in a good school and hired a tutor to help him catch up. He even set up a fund in Daniel's name, just in case he still wanted to be that doctor one day. One rainy afternoon, Daniel stood in the doorway of their now comfortable apartment, holding the same shoe brush he had used that first day. "I want to keep this," he said to Thomas, who was helping unpack new books. "It reminds me where I started. And why I can't stop trying." Thomas smiled. "You've got more courage than most grown men I know, Daniel. But why did you help us?" Daniel asked softly. "You didn't have to." Thomas's smile faded a little. "Because once, a long time ago, I had a little sister. She died because we couldn't afford medicine. My parents were too proud to ask for help, and I was too young to do anything. When I saw you, begging not for yourself, but for your mom, I saw what I wished I could have been." Daniel didn't say anything. He just hugged him tight. Years later, Thomas Granger stood in the front row of a packed auditorium, tears in his eyes, as a young man in a white coat stepped up to receive his medical degree. "Dr. Daniel Rivera," the announcer called. The crowd erupted in applause. But Daniel looked straight at the man who had once handed him a $10 bill and changed his life. After the ceremony, reporters swarmed around the young doctor, asking how he'd done it. He simply said, "All I needed was someone to believe in me. And a chance to give back what I was given." The end. Message: sometimes, the smallest act of kindness, a moment of listening, a hand extended, a few dollars freely given, can change a life forever. Daniel's story reminds us that love, resilience, and compassion are more powerful than any hardship. And that when we take the time to see the humanity in others, we find the best in ourselves.